Hey there, it's Michael Whalen, and this is the Artist Expansion Podcast. This is episode number 15. And today we are going to talk about getting your music licensed for film, television, ads, games, all that stuff. So this is a big episode. A lot of people have asked me to do this. Happy to oblige. So getting your material licensed is a journey. Okay, so I'm not going to talk to you guys today like a maker of music. I'm going to talk to you guys as a music supervisor because I have been a music supervisor on about 150 projects. I've been nominated for an Emmy as a music supervisor, not just a composer. What I'm going to be talking about today is what I want to see as a music supervisor, what my colleagues want to see when you want to pitch your stuff. The very first thing that you need to know about music supervision is that in about, let's say, 85% of the cases, the music supervisor has very little control over what they can license. A lot of it has to do with things like the budget, the production schedule, and the kinds of copyrights that the director and the producer want you to get. So let's talk about a couple of people in this conversation that are really important. The first one, especially for film projects, is the director. So creatively, they are the center of the whole thing. And in most cases, they're going to be the ones leading the charge with regard to how they want things to feel, how they want things to sound, how they want things to look, all that stuff. The second most important person is the producer or producers, plural, and on many TV shows, I don't know if you read credits, but a lot of shows have got 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 or more producers. Okay, so they're not all creative producers. A lot of the producers who are listed are people who brought in a big piece of talent. They're responsible for some percentage of the production, blah, blah, blah. So in terms of the creative producers, there's usually 1, maybe 2, 3 who are kind of around the director in terms of approving the decisions that the director makes. The other person is the music supervisor. So there are lots of independent productions where there is no music supervisor. You will be dealing directly with either the film editor, who is throwing music against the film, doing something called temporary music or temp music, if you ever heard that phrase before, temp music. But a lot of times on small productions, you're dealing directly with the director. And the biggest problem, and I can tell you this as a composer who has done many projects, and as a music supervisor, the big problem is vocabulary. A lot of directors do not have a musical vocabulary. And so very often when I'm working with a director on something as a composer or a music supervisor, I ask them, what's your comfort level with talking to me in music? If you don't have that, then I want you to talk to me like an actor. I want you to use adjectives and describe what you want from the music like I was an actor, or I was going to create a performance or feel like I was performing that way. I cannot tell you how many times that has made directors feel so good, like I'm taking care of them. There you go. So you really want to be somebody who is thinking about how you're talking to people. Really, what are you walking into in terms of a situation like this? Okay. The biggest problem with musicians trying to get their stuff licensed is this idea that they're going to blindly pitch music to music supervisors. I get it from publishers all the time, little record companies all the time. It is so annoying. Can you hear it in my voice? It's so annoying. It happens every day. Blind submissions. And I delete, and then I block them. Guys, blind submissions do not work. I'm telling you, period, end of story. So if you're doing it, stop it today. The first thing you want to do is you want to watch TV with a phone in your hand and you want to be Shazamming songs that you hear on TV shows. And you want to hear who gets their stuff licensed. And you also want to listen to the song and how it's put together. You want to have something that is going to help broaden the story, broaden the character, and it's going to give a sense that there is something going on sort of beyond the story and the narrative that's going on. Because remember, what you're doing with your music is you're helping to tell the story of the film. The TV show is not about your music. You want to be somebody who is telling the story along with the director and the actors and the writer and the producer and the editor and the production designer and the costume person. You guys are all telling the story together, different parts of it. And your music is going to be creating a sense of place, character, time, situation, maybe foreshadowing something that's going to come, maybe reacting to something that just happened. So you want to be thinking cinematically. In creating sync-friendly music, you want to be thinking about what kind of drum sounds are you using? What kind of guitar sounds are you using? You don't want to be creating music that's too dense. You just don't. Because what's going to happen is that in the mix, they're going to get stems of your mix and they're going to pull your song apart. Yeah, all I really need is the bass line and the drums and the vocal a little bit and maybe occasionally the keyboard and maybe occasionally the guitar. I've seen it happen 100 times. So be thinking about how much air can I give this? Having something that's tense works great. Look at what Trent Reznor does. He has done so much really cool stuff that's got a great edge to it, but look how much air there's around it. Look at the choices that he makes in terms of, what him and Atticus do with the scores. They pick out such great sounds, but there's still so much air around that you can throw it into almost any kind of scene and it's going to work. So that's number one. Number two, you want to build a professional music catalog. So what does that mean? A lot of you out there aren't registered with a performing rights organization, ASCAP, BMI, CSAC in the United States, PRS in the UK. Every country in Europe, Japan, India, I think Brazil has 18 PROs. You want to get your material registered with the PRO. Because what's going to happen is that your material is going to get used on TV, it's going to go on a cue sheet, and then once it has a public performance that can be charted, they're going to go back to the cue sheet and they're going to say, okay, is this person organized and ready to go in terms of payment, in terms of making sure that the legal part of this is all handled. So you really want to make sure that your material is registered, your PRO is in good shape, you're ready to get paid. Because without it, it becomes another reason for your music to be yeah, I really like this song, but you guys don't really have your act together. I'm going to go use this other thing where, these guys have done this 10 times and see ya. Because when you're in the heat of production, the last thing you want to deal with is legal anything. So there you go. The other thing also is if you're in a band, and this is going to be a highly controversial thing to say, get a collaboration agreement together with the people you write with. I'm going to say that again. Get a collaboration agreement with the people that you write with. End of story. More bands, more relationships, more friendships have broken up over publishing, over writer splits. Unbelievable. So get that together. I've worked with people in Nashville. I've co-written with people in Nashville where we have walked into a room ice cold. I have never met this person. First thing that happens is you sign a collaboration agreement. I get 50%, you get 50%. Here's the date. Here's the name of my publishing company. There's the name of your publishing company. Okay, cool. What do you want to write about? Go. That's how professionals operate. So too many bands, too many people who work together are well, yeah, no, we'll work it out down the line. No, you won't. Again, that is another reason to not license your material. I have talked to a million independent people who are like, well, yeah, I don't really have the writer split together. And I'm like, okay, well, bye, click. Not dealing with that for 1 second. Sorry, the way it is. The other part of having a professional catalog is to make sure, yes, you've got your PRO. Yes, you've got your collaboration agreement. Yes, you know what your splits are with your co-writers. But when you're pitching your material, a music supervisor, whoever's doing the clearances, will know that both sides can be cleared simply by talking to you. Okay, so what's the side? So, and we're going to get into some basics about this, but you should really read about how this works. When you create a song and you record it, you have created 2 copyrights simultaneously. One is for the recording. The other one is for the publishing, the notes, the lyrics. They go together. So if I'm licensing your material, I have to license both the recording and the publishing simultaneously. Those are both sides. So if I get on the phone with somebody or send somebody an email, the very first question is, can I clear both sides of this with you? Is there a publisher? Is there a record company involved? Someone's like, oh yeah, well, I have a deal with Sony. Bye. If I'm working on a little film, I mean, as nice as the people at Sony are, and they have like a whole dashboard put together for doing sync licenses, and they're, them and Universal and Warner, they're very organized. But if I'm working on a little movie and I have 2 weeks to clear 20 pieces, there's no way I'm going to a big record company. So as an independent artist, one of the things that you can do is to say, you can clear both sides. Everything's good. I am the only writer. Everything's published. I got everything registered. I'm ready to go. The most important thing that you can do to get your music licensed is to network with music supervisors. So I don't know if you know this, but there is an association of music supervisors. That's interesting. And sometimes they have events. Sometimes music supervisors will go to film festivals in your area or an area nearby you, or maybe you will even have to get off your butt, get off the couch, get in a car and drive someplace. But here in New York City, where I am, I don't even know how many film festivals there are. 100? 200? I mean, between New York City, Long Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, going to Philadelphia, going up to Boston, everywhere. I can go upstate. They have little film festivals in upstate New York. I can go to Ohio. I can go across Pennsylvania and go to Pittsburgh. There's film festivals everywhere, and at those places you will see directors, producers, music supervisors. Meet them, talk to them, find out what they're doing and what they're looking for. And then you can tell them what you do. What you do is actually not as important as what they need. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But if you can network and you can actually have relationships with 2, 3, 4, 5 music supervisors, that can make your career. If these people are busy and they're doing stuff, or they're a music supervisor for a series, or they work for Netflix or HBO or one of those places, you're good. So there you go. One of the things you could do is you could sign with an agent, or you could sign up for a sync license library. So you could actually have your stuff in a music library. Some of them are exclusive, some of them are non-exclusive. You want to take a look at that. Exclusive means they have your material and no one else can use it. Non-exclusive means you can shop it to a lot of people, but your material becomes less important because it can be used by a lot of people, and so it doesn't have the special proprietariness that people want. So you've got to kind of balance between having a relationship with a music library and not. you could write music custom for a music library. So you could actually do two things. You could actually have your artist music that you're pitching to people, and then you could actually have a relationship with a music library where you're sending them a steady diet of stuff. That would be a really smart thing to do. So having multiple possibilities, multiple different situations that you're trying to kind of work out, that's a smart thing to do. The people that I use for the films and the TV shows that I work on are the ones who start emails. Hey, Michael, how are you? What are you working on? Oh my God, I'm going to faint. I can't believe somebody's asking about me. They're not going to tell me all about them like I care. So it's really important for you to be in a situation where your job is to be a problem solver. And you don't know what that problem is, but you're going to solve the problem. I got this scene and I'm not really quite sure what to do. And it's a little bit of this and it's a little bit of that. And it needs to be 45 seconds and it needs to do this and whatever. Hey, can you get me something overnight? Okay. There you go. Oh, yeah. That's the other thing. If you work with a music supervisor, very often you're going to have no time to turn things around. So having your catalog together, having it shippable, having it ready to go is absolutely crucial. I mean, crucial. I think one of the reasons why people are not successful in music is because they're not prepared to be successful. So they don't have their catalog up on Disco. What's Disco? So Disco is a platform that a lot of music supervisors use and a lot of composers and songwriters use to deliver material. And it's like the place. SoundCloud, not so much, but definitely Disco. There you go. But you want to have your whole catalog kind of laid out. You want to have all your stems for your songs ready to go. So when someone says, hey, I really like this song, you can say, yeah, I got it. Here's the link on Disco. I got the stems all ready to go. Boom. That's like a dream situation. Because, I've talked to artists and I'm like, hey, I really like your song. Can I get a link? Oh, well, yeah, we're touring and I stubbed my toe and, I have to sleep a lot tomorrow and, yeah, I'll get back to you in a couple of weeks. End of conversation. So your job is to be prepared. Another way to get your material licensed is to pitch it directly to advertising agencies. So a lot of advertising agencies have a head of music, less than they used to, but a lot of them have a head of production, or they have somebody who supervises production that is either done internally. A lot of agencies have internal production companies now, and they go off and they do things and they actually finish it at the agency. So they have like a music coordinator that, sometimes the music coordinator will actually do the music and the sound for them. And sometimes they go out of house. And so if you can have a relationship with them, it's a smart thing to do. You could get your material on a licensing platform. So there's Getty has a huge library that is actually split between, I think, 4 or 5 different brand names now. And they have, obviously they've got, photos and video and illustrations, but they also have a lot of music and they also have a lot of sound design. They actually have tracks and effects and things like that people can pull and they can use for commercials and promos and things like that. So if you want to, a licensing platform is not a music library. A music library is something that's a little bit more proactive and it's a little less passive. A licensing platform is something where it's okay, well, people are looking around here anyway. So a famous licensing platform would be something like Pond 5. Huge, lots and lots of material, and they also have a lot of music. So if you want to, go to the website, check it out, submit, see what happens. Another possibility is to go to a place like Taxi. I am not a huge fan of places like this, because what tends to happen is they are somewhere in between a music library and a record label and a publisher. One of the biggest things you're going to find in getting your music licensed is that consistency is king. So you could watch this video and get all excited and get your material out there and send it out to a bunch of places and then do nothing. That would be a mistake. So what you want to do is send things out on a consistent basis. You want to meet people on a consistent basis. You want to create new opportunities on a consistent basis. You want to be consistent, and you want to have this happen over time. So as a guy who's been doing this now for 36 years, I can tell you that there's moments where I'm really, really busy, and there's times where I'm really, really not. And that this all averages out over time. And the bottom line is you want to be somebody who is like putting your stuff out on a consistent basis, and you'll be amazed. Like some guy who got your material a year ago or 2 years ago will say, hey, yeah, I really like that song, but we weren't in a position to talk to you yet. Or, our post-production got moved back or whatever, their funding went away or whatever. So the bottom line is the more lines you put in the water, the more possible fish you're going to catch. One of the things that I say to my clients at Artist Expansion when we're releasing a record is that this is a marathon, not a sprint. This is absolutely the case when it comes to getting single licenses. You've got to be in it for the long haul. You've got to be committed to it in the long haul. You've got to be willing to put stuff out there for months with no feedback at all. The other part of this that I think is also really important is to be organized, is to be professional, is to understand how the business works. So making sure that both sides can get cleared, making sure that you have your material ready to be sent on a moment's notice, making sure that you've got collaboration agreements and you've got your own house in order when this stuff comes in. Your job is to make it as easy as possible for someone to come along, hear your music, think it's going to work in their production, and have them license it. You want to be the person who's taking all the barriers out of it, and you want to be the person who's going to be like, yep, whatever I can do, I am here to be of service to you and whatever the production needs. If you can become that person, the sky's the limit. Like if you can really get the reputation for being somebody who is fixing problems, answering questions, making things go away, making the impossible happen. Hey, I've gotten called by a music supervisor or a director like at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they're like, hey, I've got a mix at 1 o'clock. Can I have something? Not kidding. So you really want to get into the head of what does a production composer, production songwriter need to do? How do they need to be operating? Is your studio ready to rock? Do you have everything you need? Because if you're like sitting there going, hey, yeah, I can do this in 3 hours, and you don't know where your microphones are and you're not really organized, you don't really have things together, you're not going to be successful. So you've got to set yourself up for success, okay? So the last thing is expectations. Everyone wants their material licensed. Why? Because it is a possible source of a lot of income. It's a way of getting your name out there in front of a lot of people and getting your music out there in front of a lot of people. And so it's very, very, very competitive. So you want to have your expectations very low until you start getting a couple of sync licenses under your belt and you start learning the ropes a little bit and you start getting your catalog together and really ready to rock. And at that point, the momentum will begin to take care of itself because people will say, hey, I saw you do this. Hey, do you have any more stuff? Hey, I really like that. Do you have any more stuff? Have any more stuff like that? And if your answer is yes, or hey, what do you need? I can do it for you in a few hours, you're good. So I really, really, really hope this helps. I know I hit you with a lot of stuff. And I will put some links in under this video so you can get to some resources. But the bottom line is, be professional. Be professional. Be of service. Be of service. You do those two things, you're going to be way ahead of most other people. Okay? Thanks so much.